Hello there. Welcome to Book Television. Are you an author? Congratulations. Take advantage today at Book Television to promote your book at a very discounted price. 1. Authors can bring their launched videos for telecasting on our Book Television station inside East Legon. Authors can 2. hire our video crew to cover their lectures, book signings, and seminars. We can also feature us to cover your live major regional book fairs and festivals, or even your launch. So we can promote and visit bookstores. Call us now on 020-939-6073 or 054-644-2835 or on 057-026-3154. Book Television, powerful of all weapons. Thank you. To the maiden edition of Literacy Corner. This is Book Television, and I am so excited, I believe you are, because we want to know what it is that we have to offer as far as Book Television is concerned. Today I am privileged to meet a guest, a wonderful professor, a lecturer, a teacher, a father, everything that you can think of, a researcher. And if you have heard about or read some of the books, for example, I have in my hand here Blood, which is a play. He's written a lot of plays, he's done tremendous things, and I've read read some of his books. And so I'm here to introduce one. First of all, Professor Victor Yanka had his secondary education at Tamale, a school in Tamale, and then went on to further his studies at the University of Cape Coast. He also studied with the University of Sheffield in the UK, and then continued his education at the University of Ghana. He holds a PhD in African Studies. He is also a winner of ScriptNet 2000, and then a screenwriting competition in the UK which was held, and had his screenplay filmed for Channel 4 TV in the UK. He is also a fellow of the African Humanities Program of the American Council of Learned Societies. We'll be looking at some of his plays, probably even he will give us some of his poems, and everything that there is. I introduce to you on Literacy Corner, Professor Victor Yanka. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited. I've been worrying to have to meet you, and I thank God so much for making it possible for us to meet. What is it that inspired you to write all of these books? The poems, the plays, the scripts, everything. What really inspired you to go into that?
Well, some of these things are things that maybe they come to you naturally in life. As a child growing up in secondary school, one of the things I liked to do was reading stories. And in fact, even before secondary school, my stepmother used to tell us stories. Let me tell you how it all started. My stepmother was someone who made kinky. And so every evening, anytime she's wrapping, she would make the kinky into balls.
The gun kinky.
Yeah, the gun kinky. And then wrap them in the leaves. And this way back in the Upper West region. So anytime she was making the kinky, she made us help her. And to encourage us to come around and help her, she would be telling us folk tales.
Wow.
So as we're doing the kinky, she would be telling us folk tales. And so my creative impulses started from there. That instinct came from there. So when I went to secondary school, I was reading a lot, and in the it was in Form 5, I wrote some poems which were published in our school magazine. I didn't even though they would be published, 2 of them. And then I wrote a play at the A level. But let me tell you another interesting part. I was also in the school drama society, which we call Cultural Brigade in Ghana Secondary School at that time. And the school dramatic society was always interested in performing different plays.
Well, please, which year?
Oh, okay. I'm talking about from the Form 1 to Form 5. I'm talking about 1972 to 1977.
Wow, I wasn't born.
Yeah, I don't think you have even an idea in your parents' mind yet. And then sixth form was from 78 to 79. Well, started 77 into 79. Now, so in the holidays, that's after my A level, we formed a drama society in Wa, and we used to perform at the cultural center. In fact, we called the community center in Wa at that time. Every weekend, we took folk tales, the local folk tales, and we dramatized them. And people came, children, in fact, mostly it was children, came and listened. So we're trying to bring our folk tales to life in dramatic form before our children. So all those things, of course, had that impact.
It is no surprise that you turn out to be a professor of theatre.
Well.
Okay. Anyway, so what is your work schedule like? Because I know you do a lot of things, writing, combining with lecturing, all of that. What is your work schedule like? How do you combine it?
Well, the lecturing, actually, let me tell you something. And I know many people will not believe this, but every man who is married is a full-time husband and part-time worker.
Really?
If you are at work and your wife calls you and says, this is happening this way, can you go there and solve this for me? You may leave the work you are doing to go and do that. So which is important, your work or that one?
I see.
Anyway, but that's on the lighter note.
Okay.
Yeah, but yes, I wake up in the morning, I have to get myself ready. Well, I sleep late because I mostly work in the night. Get ready, come to work, have my lectures and meetings, and then also running around to do a few things. Then the time I do my writing is when I go home and in the night, because then I can set. Some people get tired, but that is when my creative impulse comes. Just before I sleep, I write something, a little bit of something. So that's the way it is for me.
So would you say that as a child you always knew that you wanted to become a professor of theatre? Write plays, people enact them, you know. So how much you learned the folklore from your grandparents and all of that?
My stepmother.
Your wow. Stepmother, you heard that? So you learned a lot. Some of us, we don't learn anything, right? So please tell us, we are interested.
As a child growing up, to be honest with you, I wanted to be a newsreader.
Oh, okay.
And I used to love to see people on the screen reading news when we had a black and white TV, and also to hear their voices on air. My favorite was Here is the News, read by John Hammond.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you remember him. Then we later on had Vida, Koranteng, Ashanti, and all of them. So yeah, so I used to, and we only had GBC actually.
Okay.
So I wanted to be a newsreader. And so I got into the arts. Actually, I was good in the agric and the artisan and also in the arts, but I finally found myself in the arts, and I thought that would lead me to that. But at the time of entering the university, the courses I was offered were not in that direction. So I found myself where I am now.
Wow. So what does your family really think about your writings, you know?
My family.
A lot of praise.
I suppose my family just take it as a given that, oh, my dad is writing. He's a writer. And when I write my plays, they want to come and see. They come and see the plays and they comment and that kind of thing. But it really doesn't make much of a difference to them. It's not like they are so excited. There was when I won the ScriptNet Award in 2000 that I saw that enthusiasm, that excitement in them. No, but they just take it as a given. Oh, he's a writer, and that's it.
Wow. So with that award in the UK, that was in America?
That was here. Actually, they came here and they organized it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how
but
many?
It was organized by the UK.
How many plays do you have to your credit? Books you have co-authored and all of that?
Who talk about my professional publications? Let me start with the publications. Well, as a professor, I may have published around 24, 25 articles in journals, in books, and so on. Okay. Though some of them, including here is one of them, which is between language and literature. You know, my first degree was in English literature, and so here, and there are some in other journals around.
I have this one here, black.
This is a creative work.
Okay.
So those ones are there. Then, as for books for institutions like textbooks, I have written for Cambridge.
Yes.
Cambridge University Press, and I think here is one that we published, English for senior high schools. I think this book is now being used by secondary schools in Ghana.
Okay.
If you go to Agrisadel, if you go to any of the schools here, you find it, but they have changed it. They've taken the Cambridge away, and it's Black Star series.
Okay.
But our names are there as the writers.
Wow.
So written from book 1 to book 4. In fact, it was book 4, but now we've revised it to book 1 to book 3 for the new syllabus that came out. And then I've also written for the distance learning program. I have written quite a number of them, with some of these in communicative skills, in African literature, some of which you can see here, and so many of them. I think I've written about between 7 and 8 of their modules that they are using for the African Studies program now. And bits of writing here and there, I really can't count. So
that is so true, because I have personally, read that, and I will not stop talking about it because of the impact it had on my GPA then. Anyway, so I want to ask for upcoming writers like myself, because I really love to write, and definitely the first time I launched my book, I know you were there to witness it, to support me and all of that. So what advice, what suggestions can you give for an upcoming writer like myself and any other person who may be watching us?
You want to write? Why the hell are you sitting at home and not taking your pen and writing? But on a lighter note, let me say that for a writer, writing is a craft, it's a skill, and it's a craft you learn. And so you may have that talent in you, but you need to develop it, and that is where the skill aspect comes in. Right. So there are people there who say they are writers, they just take the pen and write. But somehow they need to develop the skill. For instance, if you have to do anything creative, you want to write a play, you want to write a novel.
Even music?
Music. Of course, first of all, you need that inspiration. We call it the muse, the writer's muse.
Okay.
Now, if the muse is there, the next thing is the craft. How are you going to do the writing? What are you doing? How are you going about it all? And of course, with every piece of writing, you need to keep your audience engaged. Whoever you are writing for, think about how you can keep them engaged in whatever you are writing. If at any point you disengage them, they feel bored, they'll throw your book away, put it somewhere, another shelf, say, oh, it's just one of those books. If it's a play, in playwriting, for instance, we say you must have conflict. Conflict is the soul of the drama. It's what will keep your audience watching your play all the way to the end. Even novels, conflict has to be there. So think about those. How do you keep your audience engaged? That's important. And don't ever do it just like one-off thing, a one-off thing. Keep going at it. Whatever you're writing, you must consistent and persist in whatever you are doing, then you can achieve results. If you do it as a one-off, and the next time you try my hand at it again, you will not get results.
Wow. So if I can recall exactly what you've said, as an incoming writer, I should first of all think of your craft, have a skill, you learn it, you nurture it, you are persistent, and then you also become creative. You said you should have a problem with the audience, having
you have
an audience, you engage the audience. Wow. In that case, what makes a good story? Because I know that you say just have a beginning, a middle, and end, and you have a story. So you've mentioned conflict. That is, I'm asking this follow-up question. So what makes a good story? How can I write, to get the audience, whether it is a prose I'm writing, whether it's a fiction and fiction, be it prose, if it is a drama, if it is even poetry. Because before we close, I would want you to really, give us some of your poems, just to enjoy that. So, what makes a good story?
What makes a good story? A good story
Aside
is a
from
good
the
story.
conflict,
Yes,
of course.
a good story is a good story. It's not what makes a good story. You can have a good story, but if you don't tell your story well, you have no story. You've not communicated. So what makes a good story? Well told.
Oh, okay.
Right? So you have a good story. In the telling of it, your story can peter out, and your audience will not enjoy whatever you are saying if you haven't written it well. So a good story, of course, as I said earlier, is one that will really engage your audience. And to engage your audience, you as a writer, you don't write the ordinary, what everybody knows. Let's see a difference in whatever you write. That is talking about the craft. You can describe this laptop, and everybody will know it's a laptop. But you can describe it in another way, using language that audience will say, wow, I've never thought about it like that. That way, your audience will be like, wow, I want to continue reading this and see what more this person has to say.
By creating the suspense.
Of course, suspense and all of those things. So that is the skill, the craft. You have to bring it in. So conflict, yes, even in drama and even in prose, conflict is there. And in some poems you have conflict. Right. So that is the soul of it all. And when you have told the story well, you have to bring your audience back down and let them feel there is some kind of, as you said, resolution. But at that moment, you will realize that you have come back to some stable position, and your audience are satisfied. When you have told a story and your audience feel like, wow, I enjoyed that.
And sometimes
that's a good story.
You watch some movies, you do certain things, or you observe something, you realize that you are not satisfied. You would have loved for the movie to have ended in this way and all of that. So in that case, do you think they have not written any good scripts? Or
No, they have. It depends on what the writer wants to do, right? What he wants to achieve. You see, sometimes we watch a movie, you watch a play, and the writer is like, how do I keep my audience thinking at the end of this? Because he's not only interested in satisfying you. Yes, you've enjoyed the work, but at the end he wants you to think about things. I have written a play, The Pretty Trees of Gakwana. Now, that play was performed in the University of Cape Coast here, and it's an environmental play. Now, at the end of that play, what I did was to let the audience decide how the play should end. So somebody asked, so what should Anansi do? Because I've created a situation. The audience, on the first day, the audience choose one choice, and when they choose a choice, when they pick a choice, make a choice, there is an ending in the play that will satisfy that choice they made. If they pick the other one, the second day they took a different ending, and we use the other ending. So it's like that. You want to play with your audience and let them really get into it, talking after the performance is over. So that is what it is.
Well, thank you. I believe you are learning a lot, just like myself, because I can't wait to know how he gives us the follow-up, answers. But then you've written a lot of books. So how long, approximately, does it take to write a book? The first time I wrote my book, after my service, I think I took barely 2 months to write. And I also mentioned along the line that you love to write your books in the night, when there's calm, there's some of that. So I want to know, how long does it take, or how long should it take a good writer to write or finish one book?
No time. No time limit. You see, the thing about writing is sometimes, in fact, was it Plato or Aristotle who said that when you have finished writing, put it down for a number of years, then go back and pick it and read it. I have written a play, and 4 or 5 years later, I've had to revise the play. So it can take you 1 year, it can take you months, it can take you days, depending on one, how you write. Are you the prolific type? Do you write very quickly and want to get your story off with, and you think it's okay? If you are prolific and you are very good, you can write a play and get, or a novel and get it out of off your desk very quickly. Or you can be the, I don't know what to say, but the kind of ponderous writer who wants to think about everything that he's writing. I wrote this. Let me put it down for a while. Follow what I just said. And after a while, you take it again and then do it. So in that case, it can take a year, 2 or more. So there are several dimensions to this, right? So there's no hard and fast rule about how long you should take for you to finish writing. It's like making a movie. Some movies are made in years. Some are made in a shorter time. That's how it is. Once you can tell your story and tell it well within the time you want to use, or the time you can use.
You know, these days, I want to digress a little bit. Like our textbooks that we have for students. Maybe you are contracted and you are given a particular time frame to finish the books. These are going to be books that the kids will use even for generations and all of that. And then you don't do your research properly, you know, you just know that you have to finish for the money and all of that. So that is why I asked the question.
Oh, those ones are determined by the money, as you just said. And so the people have given you a contract. For instance, the Cambridge book that we wrote, it was, were contracted to do it. Now, they gave us a time frame, but the interesting thing is that they also came down and sat down with us as we worked, and we worked in teams. So it's like, when you have a contract like that, you want to do a thorough job because you are doing it for the money. I write, I'm not writing for the money. So I can take my time and do whatever I'm doing. But if you are doing it for the money, of course, then pressure will be on you. And once the pressure is on you, it's over to you to decide how you want to do this. Do you want to hire people to help you because you want to do it within a certain time frame? And so those people will have a share in whatever you get anyway, but you will have done a good job. But if you don't hire people to help, and when you hire the people to help, you must supervise them anyway. And then at the end of it, you all satisfy those people, or your contractors or whoever. So that is the way to go with that one. But for us who are into creative writing and into other things, we take our time to write what we want to do.
So it boils down to passion. You being passionate about it.
Of course, the passion is there. It's one of the determining factors, yes.
Yeah. So how do you get ideas, you know, to write your plays and all of that? Because, you know, for lack of creativity, people tend to go on the internet to just copy, you know, sometimes adaptations, and they don't do the right kind of adaptation and all of that. So how do you get the ideas?
Let me give you an example to illustrate this, or maybe a couple of them. You know the book you just mentioned, Dear Blood?
Yes.
It was one of the books I studied. It was Oedipus's, what do you call it? Sophocles' Antigone. Now, Antigone, we studied it in the class in my second year in the university. I'm talking about 1980 to 83. And after the lecture, after one of the lectures, I went to my lecturer. He was then a master's student, so it was a research assistant, something like that. I said, do you know that I see some element of feminism in this play? And he disagreed with me. I said, no, but there's an element of women's empowerment in it. And we argued, we debated it, and I said, okay, you know what, this play, I'm going to rework it and then bring out where those women elements are. And that was the motivation to write that play way back. But after a while, I just put it aside, as I've just told you. And sometimes it's the occasions, it's events that determine what I should write. Experiences come in. Or reading, like Dear Blood, it's my reading. I read this play and I think I want to do something about it. That's how you get your ideas. Or in a discussion, something can come up. Even newspapers, you read a paper, something comes, I say, wow, I think this is a good idea, I can use it for a story. A lot of ideas we say ideas are all around you. If you're a writer, they are all around you. It's like a stimulus, response kind of thing. The whole environment is your stimulus. You as a writer, you respond to that stimulus. Yeah. So that is it. Ideas are all you.
Because way back in the university, you are taught that most writers are influenced by their experiences and the things that they go through. So unless, of course, a writer explicitly states that I'm writing an autobiography. Otherwise, that definitely will be something that is around the person. That is what makes the person tend to write what make them to write. So with that, at least you've told us that your experiences, the stimulus, your environment, all of these things guided you to write some of these things. So the question I would want to ask is, when did you write your first book and how old were you? I remember mine.
Yeah. My first book, but the first thing I wrote was a poem.
Okay.
In secondary school. I told you, our school magazine, I wrote 2 poems that were published in my school magazine.
You still have those poems?
No. Somebody recently got a picture of the school magazine with my picture in it because I was a member of the editorial board.
Can you give us a line, maybe a couplet? Maybe rhyming lines or something.
You want to hear? I remember it. One of them was about a woman, about African woman, black woman. I want her black, ebony black, not white or a tag, always in this like. I want her white.
Wow, you're rapping over.
Faithful and economic woman. My black jewel, convivial and puerile, not cantankerous and bound for. That kind of thing. So it was, well, those were the times I was in school. So, so that was the poem. Then the first play was in my A-level days. It was called Snake in the Boot. If you find a snake in your boot, squirrel in your boot, you don't know, you put your foot in it.
Is it published?
No, it got lost. I wrote it, and when I came to university, in fact, I had it in manuscript form. In those days, publication, forget it. Typing, this was not easy. So it was in manuscript form. And then I came here, and St. Peter's Seminary, the major seminary here, some students came and said they wanted to perform it. Well, photocopy opportunities were not there, so I gave them the script, go and do it and bring it back to me, and they went and lost it. So I've lost that play. So that was when I wrote my first play, yeah, and it was good. It was Snake in the Boot, simply had to do with tribalism. There's the snake in the boot of society. So, and then some other issues came up with Sikaman was the next one that came to mind, and it was when the 1983 there was this famine where there was so much hunger and whatnot, and people were eating all kinds of things. So there are some lines in the play that have that, and so that's what motivated me to write that play, and so on and some other. So that's the way it has gone, one play after another.
So how many published and unpublished?
3 of the articles, they are all published. They are published in journals and whatnot. But if they are not published, those are the things that they use to promote you as a university, as an academic. And then these books for the College of Distance Education, of course, they are published, and these other ones. But talking about the creative works, I think none of my poems have been published, but I'll read one or two to you anyway.
Oh, please.
Then, but Dear Blood is the one, and Dear Blood is currently being used by training colleges in Ghana, some training colleges in Ghana. It's a play that they are studying, and the university students here have been studying in the English department. They also study it. So, but the others, I think the Razor's Edge was the first published one. The Razor's Edge and Strangers, they are one act plays. They were the first published ones, and they were published by Ghana Publishing Corporation. Right. So those were the ones.
Poems, I'm just excited because it sounded like music when you were even reciting the poems and all of that. Will you say that you are successful as a literary professor. So how would you define a successful, writer? Would you say that you've been successful at your work?
Success is relative. I'm not really, I will not say I'm very successful. I'll say I'm making the efforts that I can make to at least help people come up, to help the younger ones come up. But actually I won't call myself a successful writer. No, I'm striving to be a writer.
Oh, wow.
But I wouldn't say I'm successful. I'm trying to do something that will change society, at least, yeah. Especially for the environment, for the political situation. Some of my plays have to do with the political situation.
Satires.
Yeah, and so if you take Demon Crazy, it's a comedy and it's satirical. So that's how it is.
Wow, so you would not, you said it's relative, so you're not going to define the success. But I'm really surprised because I know you have done so well, you are doing very well for this department. You're a professor of theater, and I believe you have learned a lot. How do you, if you are a new writer, upcoming writer, you write poems and all of that, you can put them together, anthology of poems, you put them together, you write them, you've been taught how to write. Your environment can influence you, your friends can influence you, even your own experiences in life can fashion the way you write, and you put them into writing. You also have to take your time, learn the skill, get people, mentors like Professor himself here, Professor Victoria. Thank you so much for this time, and I'm really, really glad. We are not going until you have read your poems. Yes, please. So you have the platform.
One of them I wrote in my first year in university when we visited the campus. Actually, see that they are in transparencies because I read them in the US, and there they use overhead projectors, so they'll put this on the overhead projector and project it as I did the reading. So I want to read some of them. This one is called The Spectre, and The Spectre is about the castle, Elmina Castle, Cape Coast Castle. So that's where, when I wrote it, it was an experience as we got into the castle, and there were these white, African Americans who had arrived, and then we were all going through the castle. So after that, I wrote this poem. It's called The Spectre. Here we go. There it stands today, a rocky, moldy monument, denting the green patch and dwarfing the ancient town as it has done since days once upon a time. Once upon a time, from this rock of rooms, from this monument of our blood, the blood of your grand one and mine, millions had squeezed through needle-eye gates with clanging, complaining feet. They were packed skin tight, and from across the vast stretch re-echoed to us, nobody knows the trouble I see, nobody knows my sorrow, nobody knows the trouble I see, glory, hallelujah. They gave us the wine and then the guns, and we celebrated our doom. We laid our block, we erected our scaffold, and set our noose. Ask from Kumasi, they will tell you. Go to Elmina, it was the same. See how your great aunt was chained like a cow for the slaughter. Come into this dungeon and feel the chill that pinned their souls to anguish greater far than hell, with the song of the splashing waves to lull them to haunted dreams. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Welcome home, sister, welcome. The resistant spirit that survived the airless condemned cells. Welcome home, sister, welcome. Listen to the birds, they bid you welcome. Hear the drums, they bid you welcome. Home is where the spirit finds an ending peace. welcome back home.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. I believe you've taken something out of this. This has been Literacy Corner, only on Book Television. And I'm your host, Dr. Spiamainchi. Thank you, and catch you sometime. Hello there. Welcome to Book Television. Are you an author? Congratulations. Take advantage today at Book Television to promote your book at a very discounted price. 1. Authors can bring their launched videos for telecasting on our Book Television station inside East Legon. Authors can 2. Hire our video crew to cover their lectures, book signings, and seminars. We can also feature us to cover your live major regional book fairs and festivals, or even your launch. So we can promote and visit bookstores. Call us now on 020-939-6073 or 054-644-2835 or on 057-026-3154. Book Television, powerful of all weapons. Thank you. Do, it is our duty, or what we desire with Book Television is to put the spotlight on writers, authors, people who are imparting knowledge into the lives of our children. How do they write? How do they do their researches? What criteria do they use in conducting all of these researches? And so how they also benefit from all of the knowledge that they've been given to. And we are very privileged. Before that, I would want to recognize some people who have made it possible for us to bring this show to you. For example, we can talk about DAP Publications, which is in Accra, East Legon. We can also make mention of Ultimate Films Production, covering us and all of that. We can also talk about the DAP Fund, which is an NGO which also has the child at heart to ensure that children or kids between the ages of 2 to 6 get quality education. So before that, I am very privileged this afternoon. I'll be introducing to you one very important person. And when I mention the name, you would have heard the name in many folklores or tales or all about whatever way you want to call it, in oral traditions that have been passed on. So this one is Anansi we are going to talk about, but it's a different Anansi altogether. Okay, I know you're excited about that. So with this person, I have encountered him, I have learned a lot. I know you are definitely going to learn from him. If you want to be a writer, you're an aspiring writer, you've been writing, you don't know, but are you writing music, you're writing a book, you're writing textbooks, is it prose, is it drama, any form of writing, I believe you're going to learn something on this show. That is what Book Television brings to your doorstep. So we are going to be introducing Mr. Anthony Vincent Anansi, and he had his Bachelor of Education degree from the Heriot Watt University, Edinburgh, Scotland, and he has also taught in different levels, right from KG1 up to JHS3. And this person has also co-authored many books, several books, which of course I have seen some of them myself. He co-authored New Gateway to English for Junior High Secondary Schools, Book 1 to 3, and then he was also part of those who wrote the Teacher's Guide to New Gateway to English, and then English for Primary Schools, Teacher's Guide for English for Primary Schools. Name them, a lot of them. If I say I should continue with some other published and unpublished works. He also does consultancy services, English language, which I'm really going to recommend to publishers, all the big names you can talk about. If you have a team of writers, you need them to be groomed, to be trained to write textbooks that will be relevant to the levels of the children in the school. Definitely you need to be in touch with this person. And of course, I'm talking about none other than my own uncle, our father, our teacher, everything, Mr. Anthony Vincent Anansi. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Okay. It's very, very nice to see you this afternoon. I'm very excited because I know and I just can't wait. And I believe my viewers and everybody else would also want to know exactly what you want to teach us. So, we'll start with is it that, I mean, from your CV, your resume, and everything, we can tell that you a prolific writer. So, how did it all start? Is it that you, growing up, you knew that you were definitely going to be a writer? Or, there was some training and all of that? We are interested to know.
Well, to begin with, it was not something which occurred to me that I would be a writer. But when I had a chance to go to Britain in 1994 on the ODA scholarship, the courses that we undertook, and when we came back, we were many. We became part of the English language panel, and these exposures instilled in us this love for writing.
Oh, okay. I see. So once you had that exposure, you definitely you decided right on that you were interested to be a writer. Okay. So I see that apart from you writing, I know that you also do other works, consultancy services. How do you blend it? How do you combine your writing with all your other work schedules?
Well, the writing, in Ghana we have 4 ways of doing it. One, you can write your manuscript and sell that to a publisher, or you can print your manuscript yourself and sell. A third one will be that a publisher will see you, you write for him, and you are paid off. And the final one, which I recommend, or which is very good, is writing and being given royalties. In that case, you could be given royalties for as long as the book is published. So, as I said, when we came back, we became members of the panel, and we had the OD advisor, Miss Sally Buchanan. Now, one of the courses that we did was called Story Schema, how to write stories. Literature will tell you that you have the conflict, you have characters, you have this and that. But she will start with a problem, how to solve the problem and the outcomes. So it is the outcome which will end the story, or the story will continue. And since I did pedagogy, that is English language teaching, my interest has always been writing books to be used in the classroom. I've not tried writing stories, but if I'm writing for children, I know what to write. And again, my role as a tutor in the training college and as head of department, we had to go around a lot to supervise students in the classroom. So we came face to face with the real problem, with the real children, not imaginary ones. So if I see a class 1 child, I know them all over. It's not that I will sit somewhere and I imagine who a class 1 child is, but no, we go there, we supervise them, we supervise in practice, their lesson notes, we become panel members, we move from college to college, and so on and so forth. At one point, I was a training officer, if you like, for the 6 colleges in both the central and the western region. Fusu, Commander, Ula in the central, Sefiyoso, Enche, and Holy Child in the western region. And our base was Holy Child. So the panel met, discussed what needed to be done, and we had workshops for teachers in the colleges. So all this gave me the momentum to write.
So, from what you've discussed, it looks like you're very passionate about writing.
Yes.
So what do you like to do when you are not writing?
I read a lot.
It all boils down to the writing, but the reading, writing, and all
Yes,
that.
and we also learned a course, adaptation. So even what has happened here, I can adapt it to write a story. You can take a book, a popular book that everybody knows, Say Things Fall Apart, and you can adapt it for children, even in P1 to read at every stage, because, as I've told, because of my experience, I know the level of P1 children, what to write for them, P3, P5, P6, just name them. So if I watch a scene somewhere, I could adapt it, change the names of the places, of the characters, of the things that they did, of the animals, and so on, to write a story for the level I want to write to. So if I see a set of animals and I want to write for class 1, a good place is that if we saw animals somewhere or the place was full of ice and snow and so on, we don't have snow here. So I cannot talk about snow when I'm in Ghana. I talk about a place where we have got the grass or the forest so that the child can relate. Yeah, so this is how I go about my work. I read a lot.
Talking of relating, children relating, with the numerous textbooks in the system now, everybody's writing, because people want to make money. Now people don't really look at the passion aspect of it or wanting to impart knowledge to the younger generation. Gone were the days when you read books, you can remember something like Mr. Kuma has a little cat, there's a black cat, the name of the cat is Blackie and whatnot, you can remember them. These days the books are flooded. What is your comment?
Yes, in those days we didn't reward mediocrity. The CRDD put a panel together and they knew what they were about. Then somewhere along the line, the floodgates were open, that publishers must look for writers to write. And so anybody and everybody was writing. The saddest part of the story is that many of the writers have never been trained anywhere. They've never set their eyes on the syllabuses. So they imagine, oh, what I've written will be good for class 1. Now, if the person, let me cite one example, a book, I will not mention the author. A book meant for class 1, and you read and you have tetanus, whooping cough, diphtheria. Class 1 children learning diphtheria. When the writers themselves hear those words, it means they just sat down and they think that the volume is about 100 pages and it will do for class 1. So they write. No. The syllabus is your source document. Do they even know what is in the syllabus? They don't. And again, they have different ideas about the English language. English language is not factual. It's about what you are going to memorize and reproduce. So that if you compare, let's say, English to social studies, if you have a book written by maybe the chief examiner, social studies, you memorize, you are going to get A. If you have a book written by the English language chief examiner and you memorize, you are going to get F. Because English language is not about memorizing, it's about application, what you learned and how you apply it. So if, let's say, you go into the syllabus and they tell you malaria for class 1, and you go and talk about Anopheles mosquitoes and those terms that they use, medical terms that they use. Class 1, what has it got to do with the Anopheles mosquitoes and those drugs? All they want to read about is maybe somebody was sick in the morning, the mother felt the temperature, took the girl aboard the hospital, and they went to maybe lab and they were giving drugs. Maybe he was advised to sleep on a mosquito net or use spray. It has something to do, we are not talking about medical students. So when you have earthquake in the syllabus, it is there. We are not geodetic or geography scholars. So it's about what happens after an earthquake. Usual buildings collapsing, homelessness, NGOs coming to help with the rice, with boats, with mats and so on. But what they do is that they go to the net and download everything there, hook, line and sinker. And it is like one size fits all, whether it is class 2, class 4, DSS, the same material. So unfortunately, most of the books that are in the system do not address the needs of their children. And 2, they are in business, competing. In fact, there's a rat race sort of trying to build this and so most of them, in fact 95% of them are teaching towards passing the BEC. And so children are doing unimaginable things. I have a copy of the 2019 BEC here. If you go to the comprehension passage, this is all that was given them. I gave this to my P4 grandson, he was able to read. But I tell you, this is easier than some of the text in P4 books in Ghana now. So what are we getting towards? Ultimately, this is what they're going to do. But they are reading 46 lines, 52 lines, 28 lines. Meanwhile, after 9 years, this is what they're going to do. What people don't know is this, that if all our education is about passing the BEC, we don't need the 9 years. We need about 4 or 5 years to prepare them to go and pass. But if it is education for life, then we have to learn everything in the curriculum. The head, the heart, and the hand, as Efremamu said in his popular song, three nensa na command: the head, the heart, and the hand. So that is why children get all the grades at grade 10. They go to science school and you see them backpedaling. So that the few who went through the so-called side and came with like 18, 19, 20, they are consistent. Those on private school are grade 10 ones and are grade 11, 12 and so on. By February of the following year, you see the evidence all over. You can go to any school and check this information. It's because they only prepared to pass examination. So what next? Life does not end after passing BEC. Life goes on and on and on. And so instead of preparing the student to pass the BEC, we should prepare them for life. Sometimes you take a test paper of a P4 child or P5. The questions had been copied from BEC. And you wonder what the teachers taught them that year or that term. So if you teach somebody, let's say, adverbs in P4 30, and you don't ask any question about them identifying adverbs in sentences, or underlining them, or replacing them, or putting in the adverbs, and you go and ask questions from the third one is that the publishers too have been fooling the writers. You don't pay them. And so this time the writers are not committed. They just write it at all because after all, his life is no way connected. So I write for you, I take my money. But if we put in place royalties, that maybe, if you have heard this book, my first copy book,
Yeah.
it was written in 1958.
Wow.
And the writer, Mr. F. Jampo, is still paid royalty. 58. How many years now? So every quarter or every 6 months you get something. If he's dead, the next of kin will be getting something now as we speak. But when you write and all you get is peanuts, how committed are you to write? So it is a two-way traffic. The publishers must be prepared to pay royalties because it's not easy writing for the children. For example, I was writing for P2 about bushfires, and I came to a point that they came to put off the fire. Put off is a phrasal verb. So I go to the slide, but when do we teach phrasal verbs? Do we do it in P2? I said no. So I must use a word that they are going to understand. And I say, stop the fire. And our lecturer said, why purchase if you can buy? If the children will understand buy, why do you use the word purchase? So we should use the appropriate words for the children to relate so that they can know what they are writing. If you write a book and all the names are American names, Japanese names, Korean names and so on, for Ghanaians, if all the food items, the fruits, the apricot, the peaches, and so on, how can the Ghanaian child relate? What about our pawpaw, our pineapple, our mango? So, because there is no commitment, people just go to the net and then download. I once had a text for P6, and one sentence had 58 words. One sentence. So, so what is the main verb in this sentence? So we have to do a lot, and most of the books in the system have not been written for the pupils. No, most of them, many of them, because it's like you can't go beyond a fourth word without coming into contact with a very big word.
Yeah.
And the question is, even adults, how often do you use your Bible when you're reading dictionary when you're reading your Bible? How often? Do you have a dictionary when you're reading the Bible? You don't. You understand? So why should a child be having dictionary or every other word go and find a meaning? If you get the book that we had written by experts, we just mentioned Mr. Akuma has our 2 children. Those were written by CRDD, and people still remember 30 years ago, 40 years ago, because it was on their level. Today, nobody remembers the first paragraph of the P3 book. Why? Because the books are not written for them. We have to go back to basics and help our children to learn for life. That is why everybody is looking to pass looking to pass. Whatever it takes to pass, they are going to do it. Leakages upon leakages upon, because all we think of is passing exam. And if that is our main idea of going to school, then we shall still to pass. There will be more leakages.
all of these textbooks in the system, because people are not being given the necessary royalties that they deserve. The money may be too small, so they also don't care. They have to write any book at all. And people are also desperate. They just want to pass the exam and go. After all, what is the point if I fail my exam? You know. And even some parents even think that when the exercises or the textbooks are too simple to be read, it means that the person who wrote the book was not knowledgeable. You know. So I just want to know, is it that, well, I think it still answers the question, because I wanted to know if it is because most of these writers are a bit egoistic. Does it hurt to, to be egoistic in terms of, writing the right materials, and even when you also write and it's too simple and you talk about them? Because I know that we have a system. These days you write the book, you take it to the CRDD, there's an assessment unit, they assess the book. If it passes through the test, I think you can even tell us more about that assessment.
Yeah, the good thing is that sometimes it is this old proverb: "He who calls the tune pays the piper." Is it the other way around? The piper and the tune, so on and so forth. Some of these private schools, they say that they want tough in quotation marks, books to be used. It's like going to the hospital and you tell the doctor I have headache, but I don't like the drug you are prescribing. I want hard ones, tough ones. So when I swallow one, my malaria will be over. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. Publishers, and you don't understand the concept of pupils book. When we say a pupils book, what is the meaning? It is for the pupil. So I'm writing a P1 pupils book. The book is going to be used by P1 children, not their uncles, not their father, not the city teacher. So when we were told that if we are writing for 20 pupils, the first 5 pupils should be able to read the book on their own. It is their book. Then the next 10 should read with some difficulty. Then the last 5 who have problems, even the first 5 can help them. So when we were children, we were going to school, you took a book to your teacher, the teacher only had to mention the word for you. He didn't even explain because the book was written at your level. But when you go to some of these private schools, class 1 children, they are reading P3 book. I don't know why they're doing that. The rule is if the child is good in class 1, more class 1 work. If the child is exceptional, let the child put him somewhere and let the remainder, even the university, don't you have first class, second class, upper, second class, lower, third class? Now we even have a pass. But they are in the university. So why should anybody think that everybody in this classroom, 40 of them, all of them are good, and so we are in class 1, we use class 2 syllabus? That doesn't sit well with me. So unless we come to understand these basic principles, pupils, that is why the experts wrote the syllabus. If we go through the class 1 for class 1, you lay the foundation, you build on and on and on. We don't behave as if we are going to write the BEC in class 2 or class 3. So this idea that as for my school, those in class 5 are doing pieces good, I don't understand. This is not how education is. Education is about weeding a farm so that you can weed quickly and go and take your money and go away. It is a lifelong enterprise that we take our time to go through. So let us understand what is meant by a pupil's book. These days, if you take, let's say, the class 4 book, even the best student in the class is struggling. If the best student is struggling with the class 4 book for class 4, what about the others? We are about 40. And our first boy or first girl has problems reading the book. How can the others also read? So it isn't about writing a tough book or difficult book and so on. It is about writing at the level of the children. Unfortunately, if someone like me writes, they will say it is too easy. I don't understand what, because I have used the syllabus. And so this time, because we are doing mercenary work, somebody says write for me, we just write under protest. After all, he will not pay me royalties, he's going to pay me off, so I also write. Or now, if we want the people to write, and we get the right people and we write, the children will relate easily, because the book has been written at their level, not somebody's level. So you don't sit down somewhere and you try to say that, well, this book I've written is for P4. Without going into and then say that, oh, this is too easy for P4. What is your P4? You know what is happening in other places? On TV, we see schools under trees. There are some schools that they don't even have teachers. And all of that going to use this book, and you claim that yours is it is so easy that it should be so difficult that they cannot read. I don't understand.
Wow. Mr. Nancy, I have read here that you co-authored New Gateway to English for Junior High Schools. There's a number of them. I just want to know if those authors are your friends. You know, how many of them are your friends, and what or how do they help you to become a better writer yourself?
Well, but on a personal level, I have two good friends. One is J.K. Asamoah, headmaster of this our nowadays school. This school, this popular God National Radio. You know the place where they say people go there and they get cares or something. But I will tell you. And then Tebiahin, we call each other all the time. I've come to this. Then they will do. As I'm also went to the same college with me, so sometimes you get to a point, you forget something, you have to call them, and then they will fill in the blank. They also call me and I also fill in the blank, so it's like a quick pro something. Yeah, so these are on personal. Otherwise, well, once a team is put together, you relate, so you become friends. That one is there. Yeah, and you keep on consulting and consulting. And I'm a team player, so I don't have a single book. I'm always a co-author. So it means I'm a team player. I want to work with others, learn from them, and they also learn from me. Yeah.
We're learning a lot this afternoon, being a team player,
yes,
trying to go for the royalties, you know, writing for the level of, to the level of the students, you know, all of these things. That is great. Uncle, please.
Yeah,
allow me to call him.
Antoine
Yama.
Headmaster of Antoine Secondary School.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, J.K. Asamoah, Antoine. Yeah, so editor that place.
Okay. Antoine. Okay. So we just want to know, what was the best money you ever spent as a writer? The best money you ever had or spent as a writer?
You're asking two questions. Was it the renowned publishing company, Longman PSC? And they paid royalties. Every person due us was paid. And they brought all the receipt, what it is sold, the auditor's report, and so you were in Ghana here and you had your money. Those who had pounds account were paid pounds. Those of us who had the account were paid cedis. But we didn't pay that because we have given the government foreign exchange. And we got, on the two tranches, that the first two, I was able to buy a car out of that. 79 million old currency and 41 million. I bought my first car with that. But others, I beg to say, is like a hand-to-mouth type of writing. That is why the commitment is not there. And in that operation, I was made the gatekeeper because I was a teacher's guide. And I had to call people to order that, no, this one will not make us win the bid. Rewrite. So people were ordered to rewrite. So what we presented, even now, Nigerians are photocopying that book. And some of them go to schools in Ashanti. They are still using New Gateway. Because of what we put in there, they are still using a New Gateway. But unfortunately, well, the government is not sponsoring that. But if you go to Kumasi or even Accra, go to private school, they are still using New Gateway, but you see that is a photocopy work, and so the pictures and print are not sharp as we want them to be.
Oh, I think I would like to take you back a little bit.
Yes.
Talking of the language for the level, writing, you know, publishers getting writers who write to the level of the pupils or the children, if I should put it that way. The language policy issues, what is your take on that?
Well, I have never agreed with the language policy in Ghana. Why? Because language experts tell us that the best years for a child to learn a language easily, the term is to acquire language, is from age 3 to 8 years. So they are in nursery 2, KG1, KG2, P1, P2, P3. And these are the years that, unfortunately, Ghana, we still teach them what the children know already. I am a Fanti, and they still say, teach me the Fanti, I'm instructed, such that it is very, very difficult to teach in P4. And some students don't recover from this. So you go some places, even JHS3, the teachers still use Ghana language to teach. And whose fault? Now we are in February. I'm a people say, pick a child from any fancy home. Take the child to Biakor on the Elbina Road. The ever chairman there. By Christmas, this boy will be speaking Ewe. Bring a girl from Biakor and let her come to live with me here. By Christmas, this girl will be speaking Ewe. But we rather use that time to teach. I'm going to ask a question. You have been asking me. Have you seen one fancy book in mathematics before? No. You were a true speaker.
Fancy book in mathematics?
Yes. Maths written in fancy.
No.
Why?
I have no idea.
So you don't have no idea. So, but that's what we are saying that. And so the best time that we should this problem happened to Lee Kuan Yew. You know that famous man. When he came from Japan, he insisted that right from the time the child entered the classroom, use English to teach them. And the same problems there. He said, you come back. And so when you take your child to the so-called private school, it is that they are teaching the child to speak English. The child is only if you like, activating his language acquisition device. That's all. Because the child will be immersed. English here, English there, English everywhere. The child will speak English. Then you give the child a tool. I'm not saying speaking English means you are clever. I've never said that. But the child is given a tool to explore. That is why you can go to some private schools here who are doing the right thing. Some lessons, fancy lessons are taught in fancy class 1. Other lessons are taught in English in class 1. And they are not superhumans. They are like any other children anywhere in Ghana. And this is why, and so some teachers have taken their own children from the government school to private school where they are taught by the teachers. They are even better qualified. I know somebody who is a graduate, better qualified. The teacher teaching their daughter is school certificate, but she thinks that they are learning well in a private school. So it's like a medical doctor taking the child to a quack doctor to work on. It's strange. And I keep on saying this. Those who keep on saying this, they should be sincere and come to tell us where their children and their grandchildren are going to school. They should be honest. That we have been saying that the best way to teach the child is the L1. Agreed. They should come and tell, because of that, my children and my grandchildren are now in this primary school, Catholic primary school, or DC primary school. All of them are taking their children to private schools. Why? They know what is good. Because this intervention for P1, P2, P3, it ends there. As I've never come across one social studies book written in any Ghanaian language, such that even the BECE, the questions of Ghanaian language, are written in English. So we cannot do away with the English language. The closest you can come to is Twi, but go and mention that we should use Twi as Ghanaian as national language. You will see the furore. So we have no choice in the matter. I'm with English language, I can go anywhere and everywhere. But I'm with my fanti, I doubt I can go everywhere with my fanti. I can't do that. So let us call a spade a spade. This policy of teaching the children in their L1, in P1, P2, P3 is not helping 80% of our children. That is why our children are not fluent in the language. They are not. Because they've missed the best years to acquire new languages. They've missed the line. And when they have missed the line, they're in class 4, then the class 4 teacher is told to now instruct the children in English. How does the class 4 teacher do this when we have already crossed the line that the children should learn language easily? And so it goes on and on and on and on. So most often they understand what you teach them, they cannot express themselves. That's the problem, and the evidence is there. So let us be realistic. Let us start teaching the children from whatever class in English. They would not die. They will, as the experts themselves, taking their grandchildren and children into those schools. Let's be sincere. There's too much hypocrisy in this country called Ghana. Too much of that.
I believe book television has come to stay, so they are going to be hearing all of these
Yes.
things, and the right people will take the
And I'm prepared to
decision.
debate anybody who thinks that the best way to instruct the child in Ghana I'm not talking about in Japan. I'm not talking about, you see, those countries, the whole country, they speak, let's say, Chinese. If there's anything like that. Or they all speak Hebrew. Or they all speak German. And so German is used. In our case, apart from Ashanti region, every other region has more than one language. We think that Volta, they speak everywhere. Who told you? Go to Northern Volta. Do they speak everywhere? Fanti, a central region, they think everybody speaks Fanti. Is that true? We have a Futu, a Wutu, and Senya. But then I let me tell you the lie in this. When they are shouting from the rooftop that the children should be taught in the L1, what language should we use at the University Primary School, Cape Coast? What language? Which one? Then they will come and lie again that they use the child's play language. Is there anything called play language? What about Burma camp? What language should we use in teaching children of soldiers at Burma camp? Which language? Gan? Do you have soldiers that are they all Gans? Then they say, use the play language. This hypocrisy must stop. Now, one time I told someone that, look, they are lucky I'm a Fanti because my language is used. Otherwise, I'll take them to court for denying my people. If I am a Guan, then because of their theory that unless you use the first language, then my children, that Guan child in that class should be taught in Guan, because by your theory, this is what we mean. These are all lies, and they know it. I'm prepared to challenge, debate anybody anywhere in Ghana that the best way to teach the child in Ghana is to use the L1.
Wow. So, in writing a book, I believe most people writing or watching us, pardon me, they want to know how you can write, because definitely you have a lot that you are imparting this afternoon. So how do you research to write a book, and how long does it have to take for you to gather your materials, research, before you start with, for instance, in your case, an English textbook?
One, know what is inside the syllabus. Know what is there. I have it on my phone all the time. I have the syllabus on my phone all the time. It used to be the old one, the new one is on my phone. So I know at every level what to do. And know that the class you are writing for. Two things. Know what is in the syllabus and those that you are writing for. You don't guess. You don't assume that, well, what I've written will be for class 1. When you don't know a class 1 child, you don't guess what I've written will be for P5 when you don't know who the P5 child is. And don't lie to your teeth that everything you wrote was based on the syllabus. Don't lie to your teeth. Be honest and sincere before you and your own God. Go into the syllabus. Very basic things are there. This is what they are supposed to do. And when they write, for example, we are told that P1, P2, P3, grammar must be taught in the informal way. P4 they start. Why? Because thanks to Piaget, those 10 patterns that we use, nouns, verbs, adverbs, and so on, do the children understand? When the child memorize, a noun is a name of a person, place, or thing. What is the meaning? What is the meaning? And then when you say this, you say, oh, we have common nouns. You give examples. A pencil, a book, a table. You know what I have done? All you are saying here is that these 3 words are the only common nouns in a word the child memorizes. You go to class, it is there. Possessive pronouns. What does the class 2 child need that big mouthful term for? Possessive pronouns.
Noun phrase.
It's there. All you have to do is that the child says, I have a book, I have a pencil, I have a bag. Tell him to say, the bag is mine. The book is yours. That's all that they did. The yours, hers, his, ours, and so on. They don't need anything called possessive pronoun. Go to the street, ask the professors whether they remember possessive pronoun or whether they don't speak English. So when we go there and then you go to class and somebody is teaching subjective personal pronoun, what does it mean? Subjective personal pronoun. You see, if you are not trained, that is one thing about grammar. If you are not trained, you will teach the children how you were taught the last time you learned grammar. So if the teacher is a school leaver, then he's going to teach the children how he or she was taught the same school. If you were a graduate from the university, you remember what your graduate teacher, your lecturer taught you at whatever level. So if what you are teaching is at level 300, you go to class 2 or class 4 and teach them the same way. When we say conjunctions, what do they need that big mouthful term for conjunctions? All they want to know is that how we combine sentences. So I have a book, I have a pencil. Then you say, I have a book and a pencil. The time for them to learn these terms, thanks to Piaget, will be 11 plus 12 years. That is the age of abstract thinking. And they all know this. They memorized this in the university, and they had A. That with the change, the concrete, all the senses, with the language, we begin from concrete to semi-concrete to semi-abstract and abstract. So with the class 1 book, in fact, the lower class up to P3, the book is like an album. Pictures, pictures, pictures. That is semi-concrete. Even with that, with those pictures, you will need the real object. If this banana, take banana, that's the concrete. Then we come to the semi-concrete, that is the picture in color. Then later on, we come to picture in black and white. Before even the word. Now you have some books going around for KG. Not a single picture. Everything is black and white.
Really?
And senseless sentences. I am on it. And these days people are reading 2-letter words, 3-letter words. I have never heard anywhere that you learn a language by counting the letters in the word. I've not heard anywhere. So if somebody is saying it is up to be on it, then the person is reading. It is up to you. There's an idiom, right? And when you say you're on it, it is not about physically being on something. It is I have not completed. I'm still doing it. So we should stop from, and they don't even understand what is meant by reading. Reading is not pronunciation of words. Reading is decoding, understanding what has been written. So if somebody is pronouncing words and he claims he's reading, I don't know what he's doing. If you see an inscription on a bus, maybe in L Mausi, you can read L Mausi, and you say I don't understand. You only pronounce those words there. You didn't read. Otherwise, you will tell me the meaning of L Mausi. If you meet another bus, Nyamitiasi, and you don't understand, then you have not read. Otherwise, you tell me the meaning of Nyamitiasi. There is God. So please let us go to know what is inside the inside out. Visit schools, see the class Richard, who he is or who they are, what they can do. Go to class 5. Don't sit down armchair and dream that you are writing. And yet the net is there, and I say there are lots of things on the net too. The internet can teach you how to commit suicide. It's also there on the net. So you don't go there. Even if you go to the net, reduce the language to the level of the children. There's also one thing about Ghanaians. When we don't understand English language, we clap our hands. If somebody uses words that he himself doesn't understand, we clap our hands. We are not communicating. And there's only a madman who talks and he doesn't understand. So communicate. Let them understand you. If you go on air and you speak, and you are the only person who understands yourself, then you will need psychiatric attention. Or do you agree with me? What you say, what I've said, if nobody understands me, am I not getting mental? So if you write and nobody can understand you, is that of a normal human being? So let's be realistic. We are doing a lot of the service to the Ghanaian children. We are destroying them. So some are giving up. Sometimes when they are going to school, they start crying because of the way that they are going to do. It's too much above the level of the children. Too much. Let's come to a level. Let us go back to basics. Go back to the old days. See the books. If your governor is there, go to his locker and remove books that we read in class 3, class 4. Smooth. I would say it is smooth. You can just read and read and read. Sam Downs, the lorry driver, Abdul and his tea without sugar. We read all those and we still remember those stories. But now what do? I say nobody can remember the first line of the last P3 that you read. Meanwhile, you have just read a recite for me the P3 that you CID wrote about 30-40 years ago. So where are we drifting? There's too much artificiality going on. It's too artificial, not real. And we have to be real as a nation.
So for how long should we do all of these research, getting to know what is inside the curriculum, researching, coming down to the level? coming down to the level of the, getting to know who a class 1 child is, who a pupil 2 child is like, what really is their level, so that you can write to suit them and not just be an armchair writer.
The writer themselves must be humble and admit that they need to be trained. They themselves must admit that I want to learn something, so I have to be trained. Get a good writer to train you. Learn the rudiments. That's all. And get to know, so that when we say write this for class, you can write the same thing for class 1, the same time, let's say flooding for class 1 children, flooding for class 2, flooding for P3, flooding for P6. Then at their level, the length, then the word they have to use. And it's not easy writing P1, P2, but people think it's very easy. You have to think a lot. Class 1, can she read this and understand? What should that come in? For example, I mentioned this, the inoculation something, the immunization in class 1 book. What do? If you can't, I'll tell you that, look, they don't need those big terms there. Draw a picture of a mother washing the baby. The next picture, the baby is tied at the back of the mother going to the hospital. The next picture, the child is on the table and the nurses are working on him or her. The other one, you see the jab being given. The next picture, they are coming home. And the child in class, I can remember some time ago that my mother sent me there, or my kid sister had been sent there, and so on. So you don't go there once you see immunization, then you go on Google. Then they give you all the terms there about immunization. Then you write. Which can say, I don't care. You have to read because it's in the syllabus. Children do not read the syllabus. The syllabus is not a textbook. So if you go there and they say, go and teach this, it doesn't mean that go to the net when they say stories. Tell stories in class 1. Then you say, you go and define what stories are. Then you talk about characters, minor character, major character. Are you doing literature in the sixth form, our time, on the university, on the same school? Simple story. When we even say stories, what happened this morning? The children waking up, being washed, coming to school, going out to play, going home. It's a full story. That's all. But people don't understand this simple things, so they sit down and go and define. This and everything is defined. Everything that you teach has to be defined. Who body side, nobody knows.
Some characters, as in, coming down to the level of the students and the sort of characters, you give scenarios that you can use to have simple, something that will come down to the level of them. So I just want to ask you, how do you owe the real people upon whom you base your characters? For example, there could be some real people the last time you met, you made mention of some northern names, or sometimes you cite as an example for a particular textbook if it is a passage you are writing. So how do you owe all of these real characters?
Yeah, so when you are writing for Ghanaian children, right? So we have the setting. Where is this story coming from? It's coming from, let's say, Upper East region. So you have to get the names of people from Upper East. I have all the election results from 92 to date. That gives me the names of people from all areas in Ghana. Some are long, some are short. If you are in class, you are writing a class 1 book, 3-letter, 4-letter names. The enzymes are there. You take Blay, 4-letter way. The gas are there, Adu or Ado. The Ebers are there, Afi. You don't say because you're writing for Ebers, you write a name like Gamedo Agao. Or you're writing for three people, you talk about Trimanting. Or find talk about Edumanzi. They can't even pronounce the name. So you can't. So at every level, leave those long names up there. When we are, or you are writing about everything, write about Bedema. How many people can pronounce the GB and so on? So every class and the level, simple name. I mentioned about the fruit too. If you're talking about the fantasy, the kinky, the fufu, and so on. If you are talking about the northern tribe, the Tuo Zafi, and Tuo can easily be red and the Zafi is there. You go to other places, there's the fufu and palm soup and all those in there. So they can relate the names there. And when you are a writer, you open two things. Your eyes and your ears. And you read why. Sometimes a line, a story that appeared somewhere in the book that you read, you bring the story in there and then you adapt it. Sometimes it is a common story that we are all told. You can adapt by changing even the animals. You will hear of a crocodile, the northern part of the story, the crocodile and the monkey. You can maintain the crocodile and see maybe a squirrel, an animal that lives on a tree. You don't sit down here and then go to the net and talk about buffaloes and talk about animal like a rhinoceros or tiger. We don't have tiger even in Africa. We don't have them. Tiger is in Asia. So what we have here is lion. And lion, the children talk about them even though they've not seen that. They see that in pictures and you remember the nursery rhyme, a lion, and so on. So things that they can easily relate. They know mouse, they know cat, they know dog, the food, the plants around us, they can actually see. Fruits, mango, orange, coconut, that we see around. You don't go to any far place. So that if, let's say, it's about plucking coconut somewhere, and you want to make it here, if I don't have coconut in the upper region, what food am I going to do? Do you have mango there? I will say, after it's about plucking. It's about climbing. So if I've got a soil from Zema area where coconuts are there in the enormous, in abundance, and I want to change it to say northern region or northeastern region, then what tree plant is there? I have mangoes there. So someone maybe climb and fell. So this time you not climb coconut because I'm not in Zema area. I'm in where? Upper East. So northeast or northern Bimula area there. A lot of mangoes there. So this time the child will climb the mango and maybe fall. This is how we go about it. And it takes training and willingness to learn. Are you willing to learn? Are you prepared to learn? Now if you go through all this and you are trained and you write for a publisher and the publisher pays you peanuts, it's sad, it hurts. Getting money and money and money and money. But for what happened, we will still be selling the new gateway. As I told you, even though we are not publishing officially, people are publishing it. Do the work and we all know what is good. It's like music. Good music will sell. If it's bad, nobody will mind you. But the publishers must be willing to pay good money for thinking, because it's not easy thinking and writing for children.
Intellectual books.
Yes, elsewhere, you get real money. Obama wrote how many books? Is it 2 books? And he got the money. One of them, I've forgotten his name, Ghanaian minister, he wrote about the economy, and the book sold very well. So we must see writing as not as hard, but as big business that we write for our children they can read. Not that we just take their parents, suppose something, and you are giving 50 CDs or so and so. If I write a good book, I should be able to buy, even buy the house from it. It's about 10 times somebody needs safety. Right? Ronaldo, has he got 5 legs? The same 2 legs. But when we hear Ronaldo coming here, everybody would like to see him. And so on and so we should be able to pay for a gift that God has endowed others that we don't have. We don't say, oh, so this is a P1 book, how many pages? And he says it's China, how much? We don't do that. We don't do that. It's like, let's say you have a case, a murder case, or maybe a land case, and you go to a lawyer. And it's about 10 acres. And you don't have money, the lawyer defends you. And it's about 3 acres of the land. And are you going to ask what amount of English did he speak at the law court? You are going to lose hundreds of acres of land. And he has saved you. So they have saved what? You from the hangman's noose. And you come and say, oh, so what did he say? That we have to pay him all this? No. Reward intellectual property. Reward somebody using his head. Yes. Creativity. It is not easy at all.
So, Mr. Anansi, writing all of these books, what is the best way for we to, because judging from the fact that sometimes these royalties do not come, and then we are also not appreciated for the efforts, the being imaginative enough to be able to write down to the level of a class 1 pupil, basic, to even the lower levels, that is much difficult. And most of these textbooks don't have even teacher's guide, not to talk of the workbooks for the kids. They only have the books, and they are also not pupils friendly. It's not a pupil book. It's like you wrote the book for the parents or the guardian of the child. So there's so much difficulty in the child appreciating the textbook. What is the best way to market your books as a writer after you've published them?
Someone like me, if I write, I can't market it. Because we are in a rat race about education in Ghana. That if we put experts together to write the curriculum for us, it is not just that they have nothing to do that they want to do that. They are paid to do that. So we should also use that as our source material and do the writing. The writers will have to be trained. And the publishers, if they can't use the list, you can't. You see, that's the tragedy of our area here. It's like one man business, one man. We fear to come together. In fact, Ghanaians are prepared to owe 100% of 50 than 10% of 1 million cities. That's our tragedy. We are happy that all our business is worth 100, and I owe all the 100%. Meanwhile, when we join together about 4 students, so a team where we can get about 500, that my say 10% will worth so much. Unless we come together and have the muscle, and then the writers too should be prepared to learn. Yes, then we are getting somewhere. But the way things are, I'm afraid we have a long way to go. A long way to go. And then the connections. You have to get an insider to put this one, to put that one. So it's a hell. And we are getting nowhere with this. That's why this mediocrity, I say we are rewarding mediocrity. Somebody brought me a book to look through. On page 14, the children are reading 6 sentences. On page 126, there is only 3 sentences. What type of book is this? Why is there sequencing? Where did we begin that? We now began 6 sentences. We are now doing, so first step, the first 2 weeks we are reading 6 sentences. Then the last 2 weeks we are reading 3. What type of arrangement is this? No professionalism, and it's quickly published, and the writer doesn't care, the publisher doesn't care, because you will get something. If you begin to complain, you will recoil and say, okay, I got something, so that's all right. If you make it real business, I told you, some of the books that were written so many years ago are still in print, well written, and we still buy them. You have heard this author, David Yallop, his books, in millions. Everybody is willing to buy and read his book. Well written, well researched. We have to learn the rudiments of writing, be prepared to learn, go to the feet of writers. Publishers, please get the money, go for loans, pay good money, and you'll get good money. It's as much as that.
Wow, thank you so much. And it sounds that better. He says, publishers, pay good money, give us the royalties, pay good money so that we can write the relevant books that the children need. We've talked about a lot of things. I believe we would want to even go back to all of our platforms and view our videos again. Same time, this has been Literacy Corner, only on Book Television. Thank you so much, Mr. Tony Anansi. Thank you so much, because I've learned a lot. Thank you. Catch you same time. I would like to still acknowledge our sponsors, the DAP Fund. We have DAP Publications, Ultimate Films Productions, and of course, my makeup by my one and only Ruth. I know she's watching, so thank you for my crew, my team members. All of you have been wonderful. Catch you same time. My name is Dorcas Biama Entry. This is Literacy Corner. Thank you. Hello there. Welcome to Book Television. Are you an author? Congratulations. Take advantage today at Book Television to promote your book at a very discounted price. 1. Authors can bring their launched videos for telecasting on our Book Television station inside East Legon. Authors can 2. hire our video crew to cover their lectures, book signings, and seminars. We can also feature us to cover your live major regional book fairs and festivals, or even your launch. So we can promote and visit bookstores. Call us now on 020-939-6073 or 054-644-2835 or on 057-026-3145. 54. Book television. Powerful of the world. A very good morning to our viewers out there. This is Literacy Corner, and this program is kind courtesy, brought to you by, we have the DAP Fund, we have Ultimate Films Production, and then DAP Publications. And then what we do with book television, basically, as you all know, is to put the spotlight on authors. Today, the person that we are going to be talking about, our captain for today, I believe you'll be surprised. I thought I knew much about him. I realized I didn't even know anything at all. And so this person is in the person of Reverend Professor Philip Arthur Homenyo Bosong. And he's a professor, director, and he's also a Reverend minister, like I mentioned. With his educational background, he has a PhD in English from the University of Ghana, Legon. He has also an MPhil in English language and linguistics right here, University of Cape Coast. And then he has a BA Arts in English at the University of Cape Coast. He also has a diploma in English education, and he has an advanced teacher training college certificate as well, which he had obtained at Winneba. He also went to, he had his GCE A-level Universal College at Somenya. That was around the 1984 and the 1985. I believe most of us were not born. And then he had his O-level at Dambai Training College at Dambai. Now what we have here, some of his key positions that he's held. Most of those who know him as Reverend, as a father, as a doctor, as everything, that he has always been, he's currently the head of the theater studies at the University of Cape Coast. He's also the former head of Department of Communication Studies at the University of Cape Coast. He's also the chairman of the English Language and Literacy Panel for National Curriculum Development. That is up to date. He's also the National Co-Chief Examiner representing Ghana on the West African Examinations Council. So this is no mean person. He's not a simple person at all. And so it is only on book television that you can have, such big people like that who are making impact, imparting knowledge, that would want to, speak to us, guide us as a researcher, as a writer, as somebody who aspires to be a very good writer. Look at the number of books we have in the system now. You want to make a difference. Thank you so much. Prof, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. I'm so excited to come here with this morning. I'm very excited.
And I'm excited too.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Basically, I think I would want you to help us as upcoming writers, because book television, we want to put a spotlight on writers, encourage more people to be more creative, who would want to write and all of that. Our question is that, judging from the fact that you are a doctor, you are a pastor, you are not just a pastor. In fact, I realized that you are the main person in the district as far as the Foursquare Chapel, yes, is concerned. And you are also a lecturer. You are the head of department for theater studies. You still sit on the chair for, WAEG representing Ghana. And it's quite a lot of tasks. How are you able to merge all of these, with your schedule?
It all depends on planning. In the world, if you don't plan, there's nothing you can do. You can have all the time at your disposal. But if you don't plan things to do, you will not be able to achieve much. So all I do is to do a lot of planning. So know when to do what. When do I write? When do I pastor? When do I move on? When do I lecture? There are timetables guiding my movement. that helps me.
Okay. So planning. So you apart from all of the skills that you have, I saw that you have here some of the skills that you have in singing, gardening, watching movies.
Yes.
All of these things, you are able to multitask, and that is great. Anyway, so I believe, and I have personally, seen some of the books that you have written, you used to write, and you are still even writing. I have seen some of them, and I want to ask, what would you say is your interest in writing? Like, what makes you so, peculiar? Your writing is peculiar from the others,
What makes my writing
Very peculiar.
very unique, very peculiar, is that I try to make my writing very practical. I deal with practical issues. Even where it's a textbook, I deal with very little theory, and I launch into practical issues that will help the reader to understand things better. In fact, that is even why I started writing. When I started teaching in the teacher training college, for instance, I realized that there were a few things my students didn't know about the language. And I had to think of how best to present it to them to help them understand. And some I discovered worked with them. And so I thought I should put those things in book covers so that they could have access to them and keep for life. And that's how come I started writing. So it makes my book very unique, very practical.
Wow. So it's something that boils down to experiences and it reflects the real situations of people.
Exactly.
Wow. So, for instance, if you have written a book and all of that, and maybe a younger person, somebody has put down some things and the person wants to publish a book, how do we think books published? How is it done?
Publishing is a great task, but as you know, it's an art. The whole process of writing and publishing is a whole art. And so you need to first look at the processes involved in the writing. And when you are able to follow those processes like the planning stage of the writing, the drafting stage of the writing, the typing stage of the writing, the editing stage of the writing, the proofreading stage, you get all these well done. Then you can come out with a good book. It doesn't involve a rush. So if you are a new writer and you want to write as fast as possible, you might gloss over a lot of these things, and the writing will not be the best. So you take your time to look at each of the processes very, very well. And that guides you.
With the information that I have, checking the historicity of your writing, when it all started and all of that, what I would want to ask you is, when was, your first book published? And how old were you then when you wrote your first book?
My first book, surprisingly, came very late, at the age of 28. That was when I wrote my first book. 28 years. And that was my book on comprehension and summary. As I said, my students had a lot of problems with summary writing, and comprehension was not easy either for them. So my first book was on comprehension and summary.
Wow. And that is one of the most difficult subject areas in the secondary school.
Exactly.
Because definitely the secondary school English is quite, different from what we know from the BEC level.
Exactly.
You can pass the BEC and then fail secondary school education. So the comprehension. So how was it received?
It was overwhelmingly received. The first time it came out, some didn't know. Those in my class knew it was a good book, so they were the first to patronize it. If I wrote a 22-page book, it wasn't a very voluminous book, it was very small. And then many of them read through and saw that it helped them in the summary writing. And so they kept asking for it. So I had to look for other material and write it. And so I wrote about some 120-page book. And other teachers on the staff saw that it was a good material. So they patronized it for their students. And then it started from there.
Wow. Well, please, do you like to create books for adults?
Yes.
Compared to, the kindergarten, nursery, and all of that, yeah.
I write for every level, from KG up to the university level. I write for them.
So it means that it takes someone who is actually experienced to be able to write for all of those levels.
Exactly. People have their interests. There are some who would like to write for on a university level. People have secondary school as their targets and so on. But if you have the experience, you can write varied ones, because I'm able to write storybooks for JHS, for primary schools, for children, and all those things, and have teams that help me to write sometimes.
Well, please, in the publishing industry, the most unethical thing in the publishing industry?
The most unethical is where you copy people's books without acknowledging them, without making it clear that this section was not your own knowledge but you took from somebody. It's very unethical. It's good to always make sure you write. And where you are borrowed, you are allowed to take knowledge from other sources. You cannot have all the preserve of knowledge. I mean, you cannot. Our people say that knowledge is like a big baobab tree. Your hands cannot go around it, which means that you can't know everything. So you borrow from others, but you don't make it your own when you have just borrowed. Let it be clear that you borrowed from others.
How about probably some people say you can adapt, adaptation and all of that?
Yes, adaptations are good, but sometimes they can still be dangerous. Yes. Somebody has written something very nice, and then you pick it from the person's source, and you plant it in your own soil. You have adapted, that is it, so you make it somehow something that fits your background. It's good, but you are cheating the person who actually created. And it's good to create yourself. If you're good, just adapt it. So who creates? There's a need for us also to create. So you can't be a writer and then you keep only adapting people's knowledge throughout, or people's art. There's the need for you also to create, so that people can adapt yours if you like it. Thank you.
What are common traps for aspiring writers? This is the case, you are encouraging us that we should be more creative, we should not copy. Where you have to possibly take someone else's intellectual property, you should be able to acknowledge the person.
Exactly.
So what other more probably traps are there for aspiring writers?
Apart from copying from others or adapting, the other traps are that you don't write well. That's the thing, because you don't take your time. You are creating all right, but if you don't take your time to create, your creation will not be an interesting one. That is it. So you create all right, but not all creations catch up with people. So they will see it, people may not adapt it or admire it. And it's a very great trap. When you are in a rush, you will publish something that is not a very good creation. If you take your time to reflect, as Wordsworth, one writer, one great poet, says, if you reflect, you are likely to create the more. Yes, I know writers who reflect a lot, and so they are able to create. But if you rush, you want to get the work published within the shortest possible time, you are not likely to get a good creation. You may get something you say you have created, but it's not a very good.
But please, if you could recap, you had mentioned some steps for us, the planning and all of those things. Again, probably all of these things will come in.
Yes.
You could just repeat that for our viewers' sake and look at the planning stage and all the other stages you mentioned for the writing.
Good. So you should have a planning stage when you actually vision how you want the work to be. You try to tabulate the points you have, put it in sections that you want to work on. I mean, you break everything down into small components, because it's a process. So you move from this stage to this one, to this, to this. Even if it's the chapters, everything is well arranged. You know what you follow, and so on. You should get that done. That's the planning stage, and then you come to the writing stage. Which stage are you going to? The drafting stage. Which stage are you going to write first? So you just draft the whole work. When you finish, you come back now to flesh everything out. So you look at the draft and you see where there are gaps, you cover them all. Then you move on to the editing stage, where you have now to concern yourself more with the language and the ideas you put in. Are they appropriate? Do they matter to the audience you are going, the level of the audience? if you are dealing with the general audience, what generality are you looking at? What level of education are you expecting? If it's for a specialized audience, who are the people going to read, and will they find it okay, or are there things you need to change? You look at that before you do your proofreading, where you are now looking at just little grammatical errors that okay, you make those corrections before you move down to the publishing stage. In fact, even after doing all those things, it would be nice to give it to another editor to look at, and also make some comments for you to address before you go to the publisher.
That is great. Prof, please, with all of these stages, I believe we've all learned something. At least you don't just scribble something down when you know that you already have a book. It has to go through the process for it to be assessed before you know that you are writing a very good book. Now, judging that you're also a Reverend Minister, all of these procedures, are they going to apply? Because these ones are in relation to textbooks, writing academic books for students and children to, learn or study as their textbooks in schools. What about writing Christian literature? These days, most of the prophets, the men of pastors are writing books, everybody, because we know that immediately you write a book, you can get some money from them.
Yes, they are writing a lot of books.
They necessarily have to follow all of these procedures to come out
when
with
they
the
follow it, it helps them. Some write very well. A lot of them. What happens is that when they preach messages, when they have programs and they preach a definite message for some days, then they try to put the messages together, and then they get a heading for it, and it's the book. And that's very good. They do very well. But what happens sometimes is that when it comes to looking at it critically, then you see that there will be gaps in the messages. There will be gaps in the messages. Gaps because it's not as if they've set out to write, but it's communications they've done. Then after communicating, they put it together and then they finish. Some give it to editors, and the editors are able to point out it, so they come out with something very good. Some just print it that way, and that's where you have problems with them. But whatever it is, they carry very good messages.
Wow.
Yes, I've read a number of them, and I like them. They carry messages.
Wow.
Since their target is to get the message to their listeners, or to people who haven't listened but who want to read. It's very good.
Okay.
I encourage them to write.
That's good. So we are all encouraged to write. Now, before I take leave of you, Prof, one last question. What is it like to be you? A Reverend Minister, Professor, head of theater studies, the former head of communicative studies, communication studies in the Cape Coast University, representing on the council for WAEC, the whole of Ghana, a lot of them. What is it like? What is the experience like? What does it feel like?
All this experience only humble me. Yeah, because as you hold such offices, you meet a lot of people, different people. People behave in different ways, and so you keep learning from all these behaviors and managing all these behaviors. So it humbles you. It doesn't make you feel proud, but it makes you rather understand yourself in certain circumstances. Yes.
Very well. So it makes you understand yourself. I believe we've taken a thing or two out of this discussion. This has been your one and holy host. My name is Dr. Biama Entry, and I've been speaking with Reverend Professor Philip Arthur Homenyo Bosong. And definitely you have learned something. I have learned a lot. I'm going to make sure that I write good books, so you should do the same. And we want to thank our sponsors once again, the DAP Fund. We have Ultimate Films Production. Watch out for some movies that will be coming your way from them. We also do have the DAP Fund and then DAP Publications as well. I would like to thank my team members, all of them. I believe they'll be watching, and they are still watching us. I also want to thank even Ruth and my cameraman. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll see you some other time. This has been Walichu. Hello there. Welcome to Book Television. Are you an author? Congratulations. Take advantage today at Book Television to promote your book at a very discounted price. 1. Authors can bring their launched videos for telecasting on our Book Television station. inside East Legon. Authors can too hire our video crew to cover their lectures, book signings, and seminars. We can also feature us to cover your live major regional book fairs and festivals, or even your launch. And finally, we can promote and visit bookstores. Call us now on 020-939-6073 or 054-644-2835 or on 057-026-3154. Book Television, powerful of all weapons. Thank you.